So I wanted to freshen up the look of the grill on my D100. Not only did I want to take it from looking a little tired and worn, but I wanted to update it, make it look a little more modern as well. Basically, I wanted to go from this to this. I've had several people ask about how I did the grill modifications, so we're going to go over that right here. I used my trusty one-handed hacksaw to cut most of this intersection out. You'll want to support your grill gently yet firmly in a vise or clamp to a table or something, and also make sure it's supported out on the end as you're removing the intersection. I chose to stick with doing it by hand just because with the reciprocating saw, if it was to get caught up or hung up in your grill, it could easily break it. So I would stick with doing it by hand. It takes a little while, but it's not that bad. Then we got 2 down and 2 more to go. After that, I took a small sanding drum on my Dremel tool and cleaned up what was left. Then I got out my block sander with some 1200 grit sandpaper and smoothed it out even more. Finally, I went over the entire grill with some 1200 grit sandpaper. A few areas, I think I used some 600, but overall my grill was in pretty good shape. You can spend as much time as you need or want on this. Then I drilled some holes for mounting the mesh. You'll definitely need to support your grill here. I just did it by hand. But you could use a block of wood or anything. I know it looks like I'm going to drill through my hand, but trust me, I did not. I think I used an 1/8 inch bit here. I put 2 holes in each end of each opening and 3 across the top and bottom of each opening. This is what I ended up with before paint. Again, you can spend as much time as you want or need sanding the grill. There you can see the little slots where the inner supports were removed and the holes I drilled for attaching the mesh. Here's a look from the back. This section was already broke on my grill, so keep in mind these are old and they can be a little fragile. So make sure you support your grill while you're cutting and drilling. Here is the paint I used. It's Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 paint and primer. The color is Satin Canyon Black. Here's what I ended up with after paint. I think it turned out pretty good. I debated between using the satin black, a matte black, or a matte graphite, but the satin black I think turned out pretty nice. Now these pieces were not in quite as good a shape as my grill, but I cleaned them up as best I could, and they turned out okay as well. You will have to mask off your turn signals, of course. Now this honeycomb mesh comes rolled up in a box. So I laid it out on the floor with some weights on it for several days to help flatten it out. And then just measured across the grill to get the width of the openings. Then I transferred that to the honeycomb mesh, adding 2 to 3 inches for overhang. I used some small wire cutters to cut the grill mesh. It's aluminum and it cuts very easy. Just take your time and stay in the same row. At this point, I've got about half of it already attached with zip ties. And now I'm just going to go through and insert zip ties into the remaining holes of the grill and get them pulled up through the honeycomb mesh. There are several other colors and designs available besides the honeycomb and black. Actually, the honeycomb was one of the more expensive ones, so you've got a lot to choose from when it comes to the mesh. I would recommend getting something that fits your grill in 1 to 2 pieces though, just to make installation easier. Here I'm pulling the zip ties up and back through the mesh and then pulling them tight with my needle nose pliers. Zip ties hold the mesh in place very well and are actually quite weather resistant. Here's the mesh completely attached to the grill. You'll notice on one side it got a little extra overhang. That's the bottom of the grill. I'm just going to fold that over. You could trim that a little shorter if you wanted to. Just go over it by hand. It's very easy to work with. I just want to make sure I got a nice crisp edge that follows the contours of the grill. Across the top, it had a nice smooth edge, so I left it as is. Just made sure it was nice, smooth, and flat. And here we have the finished product before installation. Looks pretty good in my opinion.